Local program funding provided by a generous grant from Union Pacific. Union Pacific, building America.
I'm Karen Hoyt, Marketing Director at Shasta Regional Medical Center, and we're proud to be part of the conversation that the Forum at KIXE is bringing to our community. Shasta Regional has been around for more than 60 years supporting our community, and we would like to invite you to be a part of the Forum on KIXE. Together, we can support the community that gives us back so much. Thank you.
Hi, and thank you for watching the Forum. I'm Ashley Tate, and I'm here with my co-host, Christy Largent and Marty Mosley. We are so lucky to have our guest host again.
Thank you. That was
again.
nice. That was a
We
fun
love having
introduction.
you here.
I appreciate that.
We're also here with the mayor of Oroville, Linda Dahlmeyer. I love your last name.
Thank you.
Because
well,
that's a mouthful.
I married the name, as I tell it in my community. My husband was born and raised in Oroville, and he's the youngest of 3 brothers. So when people say, and he owns an insurance agency, Dahlmeyer Insurance, and people say, oh, you're Dahlmeyer Insurance. I say, no, that's my husband. I said, and I married the youngest good-looking brother. So no offense to the other ones.
You chose well.
I did.
That's what she's trying to say. She chose wisely.
So the mayor of Oroville, that's quite a title.
It is.
That's quite a responsibility. Tell us about how you got into politics. What made you want to become the mayor?
You know, it's really quite a short story, but it's I've never been in politics, had no desire to be in politics, and I still don't consider myself a politician. So some people find that odd, but
That's great.
the reality is, I raised 4 daughters, and they were only 5.5 years apart. And I noticed in small communities like ours that the civility had really left city government. And I have a real passion with trying to keep people on track and doing the right thing. And so I said, I'm going to run for mayor, and we're going to turn the page, and we're going to be nice about it. I figured if I could raise 4 girls.
That's right, and make them nice to each other.
And make them nice to each other, and that I could do this. And I'm 2.5 years into it, and I have to say that the 2 promises I made when I campaigned was that we were going to turn the page, and we're going to be nice about it. It's worked.
That's awesome.
That's fantastic.
So what's going on in Oroville?
Well, like most other communities, we're having our issues because of the dissolution of RDA, the dissolving of that. And so...
And what is that?
The Redevelopment Authority. It's a program that has been around for a long time, and who would have thought that the governor of the state was going to dissolve it. But so we've had some issues with that we're going through, so we're having to downsize the city at this time. But like other cities, we're just one of many that are going through the same thing.
Yeah, and you're making it work.
Yes, we are.
I do have to say one thing, I know we're going to take it way off topic, but she is one of the most stylish and good-looking mayors that I've ever seen. I mean,
Thank you.
The dress is gorgeous, and the shoes, everything.
Thank you.
Now,
Thank
Marty
you.
can't
Nailed it.
say that, but you or
can
I
say
can
it.
say that.
I was thinking it.
I'm sure she.
Thank you.
I just can't let it out.
Thank you.
Gotta keep things
Thank you.
professional. I'm really excited about your desire to change Oroville around.
Yeah.
For a long time, maybe it's had a little bit of a bad rap, but I really like that you're raising family there. You're bringing people up. You have a good direction. What are some of the plans?
Well, for me,
Some of the goals.
it's like, once again, running for mayor. It's like anything else. Life has a season, and our community has a season, and it's time to pass the baton. There's another generation that's coming up. The old generation that has been part of Oroville for so long, it's time for them to pass the baton. That's one of the reasons why I go to visit the schools and do my Two Nice Things campaign, is to try and get them interested in wanting to be in politics or civil government.
What's the Two Nice Things campaign?
Well, that started in my home. But when I had 4 daughters, and when they get to a certain age and they all start teasing each other, it's similar to the bully system. When kids bully each other, well, it also happens with friends and girls or boys, but I had girls, and you start to notice that they tease and make fun of each other, and I would snap my finger and say, "Excuse me, what was the purpose of that remark?" And without having any tone or inflection to that, I would make them stand up and explain word for word what was the purpose of the remark that they were making.
And you apparently had a real life example of this.
I did.
With Jerry Brown.
I did.
Right? So
yes.
Tell us
And
about
so,
that.
Jerry
well,
Brown
and so the
story.
purpose of the remark ended then at the end of that, once they explained the purpose, which most of the time didn't have any positive meaning to it, then I would say, now say 2 nice things.
Yeah.
And so I was a brand new mayor 2 weeks into it. We were at the League of California Cities in Sacramento. Entire delegation, there were over 1,000 people in the room, and all of a sudden Jerry Brown came in as the guest speaker for our luncheon on the first day of the convention.
Okay.
Brand new mayor, 2 weeks into it. And we had several council members there, and one of the seasoned council members, and I'm going to say Dave Pittman, and his father and grandfather, I believe, were also in politics. So he stood up, he got called on. Now picture, Dave's a big guy, big white-headed guy, really. And Jerry Brown said, "I'll take one more question," and he points towards me, but he picks Dave, and I'm thinking, the big guy with white hair, he picked him over me. But anyway, Dave asked a very complicated question about RDA, redevelopment, enterprise zone, and all the tools that we have in the Oroville region. Jerry Brown says, Governor Brown says, you bring your delegation to our office, and we'll talk about this later. So all eyes and cameras and TV were on us for the next 3 days. But we end up in his office. Well, we're in this long table, and Jerry Brown made some remark about Oroville. I took my arm because Dave Pittman was sitting next to me. I could feel him moving forward. I go like this, like she's
Soccer mom.
Yeah, like the soccer mom. I said, "Excuse me."
You mean the remark the governor made was not a positive remark?
No, it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
So,
Okay.
and I thought, I'd
good
been there for
clarification.
2 weeks, and I said, but it was really instinctual that I just did that. I instantly went and I said, "Excuse me." I said, that was an inappropriate remark. And 2 things I learned about Governor Brown that day. And then, of course, he tried to go right on. And I thought, no, this isn't going to work. And so then I started tapping his arm. I said, "Excuse me," and I leaned forward. He must, like many of us, he might have a little ADD. So,
And he
people
thought-
don't stand up to him very
Little
often.
mother hen came out.
Well, I
mean,
did,
I was
and
gonna
it was
call
just-
the governor on it.
and I
Comment.
did, but it was just like once I was on that roll, I couldn't
So you're
stop.
like,
Train
Excuse
started.
me. Well, then I moved forward, so he was trying to talk down the table, and I'm like, I'm talking to you. And I said, that was an inappropriate remark, not only about my community, I said, but any community. I said, especially being the governor of the state of California, I said, now say 2 nice things. And it stunned him to the point that he looked and said, she's right.
Yeah.
And he did, but of course at that point
Did
I was stunned, and I couldn't remember what he said. So.
he did say 2 nice things.
He did.
He's actually
He
gonna
did.
say
I'm
his
sure
2
he could
nice
say
things.
2 nice things.
did.
He's a lifetime Californian. So
Well, and not to mention, Lake Oroville was created when his father was the governor. So he was talking about being up there when he was a kid, and then something that he said I can't remember wasn't appropriate. So.
Well,
So-
if someone was going to go to Oroville, what would you say would be the place or thing to do there? What would you
Oh
recommend?
my, there's so many things to do. When I first moved there, my husband took me to several places. One of them is Table Mountain, and it's
So pretty.
beautiful, and it has so many wildflowers in the springtime that you wouldn't even imagine. But being up there, actually, the hikes that you can take, you find out that it's actually the backyard of a mini Yosemite. You have granite faces. I've been in airplanes and helicopters flying over. You could hike for days and backpack and not ever see anybody and see something new every day.
And the Native Plant Societies do the spring hikes to Table Mountain, I think pretty much
Yeah,
every year.
yeah.
I got to go one year, and and I'm not a big hiker, but I loved that. that because it was so beautiful. It just took your breath away.
Well, and it's such a pristine community too. Most people, it's like when I moved there, I said, you know what, really what this is, it's the Tiburon San Francisco. People just don't know it yet.
Yeah.
It has, also, it's the beginning of the State Water Project. And what most people don't understand about that is in our backyard with Lake Oroville, it's the beginning of the State Water Project, which has 28 state water contractors that use it. So our water in Lake Oroville feeds the entire state.
Wow.
So
Didn't know that.
what I tell people is this is how you end up, well, I'm the mayor of Oroville. My water comes from God. Your water comes from me.
I love that.
So it's now you know where Oroville is. And so besides the lake, the river, we have 2 salmon runs, beautiful kayaking, and salmon fishing. It's second to Alaska.
Oh,
Another fact
really?
that most people don't know.
We did
right?
not know that. Okay,
That's exciting.
Yeah.
we have only a few minutes left. I don't know how
Yeah.
this is going so fast, but
know.
you just got back from a big trip.
Yes.
So can you give us the
Yes.
synopsis of this trip and what it means to you personally and what it means to Oroville and to the North State?
Well, what I had an opportunity, the Sacramento region, which Oroville is between Sacramento. We're really a bedroom community of Sacramento. We're about 50 minutes north. So, and I used to live there, so I still have a lot of contacts in Sacramento. We were offered through actually some education trade that we have already done with our Butte County Superintendent of Schools. We've done a change with Chongqing, China. And so they went on a trade trip. So I was part of that trade trip. And the purpose of that was, and once again, it was privately funded, the city didn't pay for that, was to go and introduce them to Oroville. Chongqing and China have a need for nuts and fruits. And so I said, if you want our nuts and fruits, I would like you to develop industry in our town. And we have manufacturing classes and facilities and everything in place to make that happen.
Wow.
Oh, that's amazing.
So how long were you over there and who did you meet with?
Oh my, I was there for 10 days. We landed in Beijing and did a whirlwind of stuff there to try and get acclimated. But when we made it to Chongqing, it was a trade convention. It was over 40 million square feet of trade. It was huge. So we worked the trade show. We really, really worked hard. But the highlight was meeting the mayor of Chongqing, which is really huge. Chongqing is a city of 38 million people, which is as large as the state of California. So to actually
Can you imagine that? The city-state of Chongqing is as large as our whole, one community in this province is as high as the whole state of California. One of the bigger states.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the other is meeting with Alan Gao, which is the director of the Import-Export, which is where the Chongqing office is now. It's in that building.
In Sacramento?
It is in Chongqing.
Oh, in Chongqing.
So it's a California Chongqing trade office in the state building. First time ever. So California leads that. And so meeting with Alan, and because all import-export goes through him. So making those connections to bring it back to Oroville.
That's great.
Yeah.
Wow, this has been really interesting. There's so much going on that I wasn't aware of.
You got to come to our community.
I think so. We should all take a road trip.
I'm like the Pied
That'd be
Piper,
great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Come to Oroville.
Yeah.
Come
This
to
has been
Oroville.
great. And next up on our Oroville trip, stay tuned. Don't go anywhere. Hi, thanks for joining us. We're back with Robert Bateman. We've been on Oroville today. Thank you for joining us. Robert, I'm honestly, as a young business owner, I'm really interested to hear a lot about what you've been doing. You started a business, was it 20 years ago?
I first came to Oroville in 1989, I think, and
Okay.
that winter it snowed while we were trying to put the plant up. And we made our first bags in June, late 89 in May or June,
Wow.
which was pretty quick.
Yeah.
And
That's
what is your business and
We
what do
make
you
plastic
do?
film products. We extrude the film. We buy pellets from the Gulf or Alberta, and then we make film, and then we print them, and then we cut them into bags. Or we sell the film somewhat. And so we're in agricultural business, and right the way through to we make all the bags for Nike.
Wow.
But
I
all
think
in
Which we
Oroville.
just so happen to have right here. Look at
Oh,
this.
is it? Yeah, Nike
Nike
bags.
bag. You see that? Yeah. So how did this come about? That's quite
Well,
a nice.
Well, we have
Assignment.
a plant in India as well, and that bag is made in India. We make there the products that can't be made here because it's handwork. You have to put that in by hand. And it costs,
The string goes in by hand?
yeah, it costs $50 a thousand here. It costs $5, $3 there. So we have to do it that way.
So this is, you guys have seen these bags. It's the ones that the bags, the
Yeah.
string
Drawstring.
draws up.
Yeah, that's right.
And
And-
it's
and-
really lightweight. It's an interesting texture. It's not like the heavy duty that it used to be.
No, they brought them down in gauge quite a bit. But on the other hand, in the grocery bag business, where we have a reusable grocery bag, it's the heavier gauge bags that are making progress now. And we tend to have some advantage from all these bans that are passing. LA passed this week because we make the heavy duty reusable bags, which I have some samples also.
Is this it?
Nice.
That's one of them.
This is it?
Yep, that's from Food Max.
Oh, and
Well,
so
I just-
at our Reading Food Max, you can get
Yes,
this?
yes. And
Wow.
and
It's pretty.
the-
I want to back up just a minute because I'm sure all of you are wondering how you ended up from England to Oroville. Because if you haven't
Well-
noticed, his accent, which I could listen to all day, is obviously not from California. So tell us how you ended up coming to Oroville.
Well, it's a
how you
long
chose
story.
that.
I went to Stanford in the 60s and then left California for 35 years or so and then came back. But in the meanwhile, I went to Canada and Tennessee and also had 4 children
Tennessee.
like Linda, and but they're all boys.
Oh my goodness.
So
Your
we
girls
came
know
back-
his boys, Linda?
Mine are a bit older.
Oh.
But and Oroville is actually a very nice place to live. We chose it because we needed a rail siding, and it was one of the few rail siding sites around. We looked at Reading, but it's a bit too far from anywhere. And Oroville city has been very, very supportive.
Yeah.
And it's a lovely place to live. You know, as Linda said, the canoeing is excellent, the climbing is excellent, and you can do anything you want without any trouble.
And I imagine it's a
too
pretty
bad.
different climate than what you're used to.
Yes, it's perfect though, actually, here, I think. A bit hot in summer, but otherwise ideal.
Yeah.
So how did you get started with doing bags?
Well, I started in bags in Canada, and we were the first company that bring plastic grocery bags thin plastic bags in those days, to North America.
Wow.
And we sold a lot in the States as well.
Wow.
And then I started another plant in Tennessee, Upper East Tennessee, which is actually a very nice place to live also. And I started this business with a partner in the late 80s. And right from the start, we've been focusing on heavy-duty, nicely printed, reusable bags, and no one wanted to buy them for 20 years. So
Oh my
we ended up
Really?
making everything else.
How
And then
come?
finally,
What
after
would
20
they tell
years, the
you?
government, whose policies are generally aren't normally helpful, passing some policies. Actually, it's not the government so much as popular pressure, and somewhat illogical popular pressure, passing policies regarding thin bags. And that we happen to be making out well on it, and that's one for Ralph's, which is made from agricultural film. We get the agricultural film recycled.
Now, what is agricultural film?
Well, mulch
maybe
film.
I'm
You
the
know,
only
there's the film they put on the
Oh,
fields.
the mulch.
They only stay on. It only stays on for a week or two, or sometimes a bit longer, and then you can take that off. It's still as good as new, and you wash it, and you can make film. And that's what I see as the future of our industry. Really, is
Wow.
like the steel industry, setting up recycling operations, so you're not using natural original resources,
Oh, wow.
and you're saving landfill space. And
So
Ralph's have just introduced that in another 10 stores in LA, and now there's another 100 that they'll go for.
So the plastic bag ban does not cover something like
No,
this?
it's heavy. It's a reusable bag. One of the bags, the other bag you have here, has 100 squares on it. It's made.
one?
It's sold in Chico, and you're meant to cross off each square
Oh,
as
come
you
on.
use it.
Oh,
so use it
that's
100
cute.
times, and then
That's a
they
nice little idea.
get some sort of prize when you hand it in.
So this is what store?
That's Chico Natural Foods Co-op.
Oh, they're
The
co-op.
co-op.
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't that clever?
That's
So,
amazing.
so even though it's plastic versus a fabric bag, you're going to just ideally use this over and over and over.
It costs. You can use it more often because it doesn't get dirty and it's easier to clean, and it uses much less material and costs a tenth as much. And so what's
That's
happening is
great.
they're putting these bags on the check stand, so you get that bag as the default bag.
So
No.
you have to pay
That's
for it
fantastic.
when you.
You have to pay, between 10 and 20 cents is what they sell for.
That's
Whereas,
fantastic, but you can use it 100 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So that's this I've been working for 30 years, and finally it's coming about through government action, which is rather surprising.
I was going to say on that you said you were at Stanford, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And it really sounds to me like an older version of what our new startups are like, because people are doing things that are kind of, they come up with an idea. It doesn't necessarily get picked up right away. And then now you say 20 to 30 years later, now they need the product that you were trying to make 20 years ago.
Yeah, that's right. This has been a standard product in Europe, particularly Germany, for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it's bricks and mortar, and Stanford only deals in the cloud now. doesn't
Right.
it?
Right. That's
Nothing
true.
actually useful like making
Yes.
yoga.
Yes.
That's true. That's true.
That's funny. Well, that's really interesting. I mean, it's really awesome to see someone with an innovative idea that is finally coming to fruition, and something that everyone's into, recycling now. And
We had a heck of a battle getting it accepted as a reusable bag, because the general impression is that the bags for China are plastic, but they don't look like this sort of plastic, and that this plastic was the same as the very thin plastic, which it is. But if you look at the stores, you get down to about 2 or 3% of the usage of the thin bags,
right.
which, I mean, they're used very extravagantly and unwisely, actually, as it turns out.
And I think a lot of people think of reusable as paper bags. That's
Yeah,
right.
they
you
don't stand
generally
up to
think of-
water, though, do they?
No, they don't. No, they don't.
And they'd kill trees. I mean,
That's
use
true.
a paper bag and kill a tree.
Yes,
Oh.
that's true.
Although in California, interestingly enough, every time a tree is cut down, 7 are replanted to take its place. So wood is
That's
a
great.
renewable resource as well.
That's the same as our agricultural film. We don't want to take original resources. We'd much sooner make our products out of recycled
Which,
resources.
as you said, I think that is the wave of the future,
I think
because
so.
we can reuse it and repurpose it. We're
Yeah.
getting back to Depression-era thinking, basically. Because my mother was raised by Depressionary parents, and they reused everything. And you didn't throw anything away. You just figured out how you could use it a different
That's right.
way.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a much better mindset for us to teach our children. And obviously, from a business standpoint, it's got to be good to incorporate that philosophy.
Yes, you've got to adapt the society a bit towards it. And one of the things you've got to get sensible regulations so that these things can happen. Because
Right.
they're a bit different from things that are happening already. And that's a bit of a battle in Sacramento.
You think? That's why it's a good thing we have people like Mayor Linda.
That's right.
That's
That's right.
Helping keep the Sacramento people in line.
No, I think I was her first public supporter, so I'm very pleased.
Oh, good.
And my main reason for coming here is so she'll run again.
Oh, okay, good.
Just so everyone knows. Do you feel like, since you're on the kind of the cutting edge of what the reusable bags are doing, that people are more knocking down your door as opposed to probably when you first started, you were looking to get your bags
Well,
used?
yeah, we are just trying to develop a model which takes reusable bags into areas where they don't have ordinances requiring them, and it's quite difficult. You've got to somehow link a value to the customer to the reusable bag, and
Right.
right.
we're puzzling about this. We think the answer is probably something that Stanford might work on, which is these electronic sort of images you put on, which perhaps could be used for collecting data or giving benefits.
Yeah.
So we're trying to marry the two together a bit. But it's a struggle. If they mandate it, our bag is the best bag for anyone to buy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
But
amazing.
without
Absolutely.
a mandate, it's tough to get people to give up the idea that you have to give away bags. And giving
Yeah.
away bags is the United States is unusual in that the rest of the world doesn't give away bags.
So you're kind of thinking maybe like some sort of QR code on the bag,
Yeah,
so
we
that
have
every
a
time
QR
you use
code,
it,
yeah.
you get some sort
That's
of
right.
reward.
Exactly.
Oh, that would be.
Fantastic.
I didn't know what a QR code was 3 months ago.
Well, now you
Now
know,
I'm-
and you were talking about it like you knew, so you were doing a good job.
So 3 months ago, you didn't know about a QR code,
No, why
but
would I?
now it's.
Well, didn't have any use to me.
Right, right. Until now
Until
that
it
they're
makes-
Well, now I
they
can
have to
see
get the
some,
consumer
yeah,
to
some
want to
value,
buy the
yeah.
bag. Yeah. I mean, but I think that's a brilliant idea. I mean, it's kind of amazing.
Yeah,
that
well,
you're doing something so
whether
good,
it'll come to
actually.
anything, I don't know.
Yeah.
So are
Yeah.
bags kind of your bread and butter right now, or are there any things that you're looking to expand into?
No, we do biodegradable films. We look at that the whole time. It never really is practical. And this using post-consumer resin is the biggest push. And if we can establish that, that's a complete new industry.
And you use the term pellets.
Pellets, I think, yeah.
We're-
They're little
We're
things,
almost
grain.
out of time.
I'm sorry.
So I'm
They're grain.
sorry. I'm going to have to cut us off here because we're about at the end. Robert
got
Bateman.
excited.
I know, it's exciting material, isn't it? Robert Bateman from Roplast Industries in Oroville and Mayor Linda Dahlmeyer, thank you so much for joining us at the forum where we have showcased, as today was well evidenced, interesting people doing interesting things. We're looking forward to some more episodes in the future. Every Thursday night we premiere a new episode, 7:30 local time here in California. So if you know someone doing an interesting thing, an interesting person doing an interesting thing, let us know, and we'll see you again next week.
Please go to our Facebook page, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Local program funding provided by a generous grant from Union Pacific. Union Pacific, building America.
I'm Karen Hoyt, Marketing Director at Shasta Regional Medical Center, and we're proud to be part of the conversation that the Forum at KIXE is bringing to our community. Shasta Regional has been around for more than 60 years supporting our community, and we would like to invite you to be a part of the Forum on KIXE. Together, we can support the community that gives us back so much. Thank you.